So you want to learn how to draw a forest. Maybe you might need to learn how to draw a tree. Hello there, my name is Philip and welcome to Totally Amazing. Today I'm going to show you how to draw a few different types of trees. Then I'm going to show you how to turn those trees into a forest. Okay, so there are many different types of trees out there. There's big ones, thin ones, small ones, fat ones, even Christmas type ones. So how do you draw them? Well, let me give you the hot tip. In fact, let me give you two. First of all, most of the time trees are in the background. They're only there to give you a sense of where your character is. So you don't need to worry about doing too many details. Otherwise it takes attention away from what your main character is actually doing. You're looking at the tree right now, aren't you? See, it took attention away. No, don't put too much detail in your trees. Don't worry about that. What the trees are there for is just to give you an idea of where the character is. Unless it's important to the story, don't put too much detail in. That's the first tip. Second tip, when you're trying to draw your tree and you want some inspiration, look at your arm. See the way it goes up and your fingers sort of sprout out from the edge. That's what your trees are doing as well. Also, you can also look at your veins so you can get a closer look at what you want to do for branches. So there's a little tip for inspiration for what you want to draw your tree with, your arm. So for today, you're going to need a pencil, a marker for inking, a rubber, and we're going to need some colors. Now I've got two colors. I've got a green and a brown, but I've got two tones of green. I've got a light green and a dark green, and I've got a light brown and a dark brown. We'll use those when we're coloring as well. Okay, so let's start off by drawing our arm. Don't worry, it'll make sense as we go along. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our trunk, which is going to be our forearm here, and then we're going to have our fingers, which are going to be our branches. Now what we can do here, we can start connecting these like this. So now actually we have two. One's going to be a branch up, and then one branch to the side. Just add a little bit more dynamics. Now for the leaves, what we're going to do here, we're going to draw clouds. Well, work with me here, watch it. So we're going to draw a cloud. So lots of curvy shapes. There's one branch, that's our thumb branch. And then at the top here, we're going to have our, don't be afraid to cross over your fingers there and bring it around so we've got a nice, lovely cloud at the top, which is actually going to be our leaves. Because the leaves, you don't need to draw each and every single leaf. You draw the clump, you draw the general shape that the leaves make. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to put a few little more details on the tree. So it depends, if your tree is further away, you don't need to do this, but if it's closer and your characters are a little bit closer to the tree, this might just help just give the definition of wood. So what we're going to do, just basically draw an oval like that. And now what you want to do is draw lines that go around and follow the shape of what the tree makes. But you want to spread them out as you go along. See how they go around our oval and then they follow around? So this next one is just going to go up like that, around and touches the trunk, and it's going to come back around like this. So now that gives the impression that there's wood, and it's part of the tree, which is good. Okay, so every tree needs to have the solid foundation, so we need to draw in some roots. What we're going to do is just put in a jagged shape up and down, like this, on either side. And just as we did with the oval, I'm going to put a little oval in here, and follow along with my wavy lines to represent the wood. Now what you can do, you can leave this area sparse like this, or what you can do is you can put in some little jagged lines like this to represent grass. And there you go, there's the basic tree. So that's your basic run-of-the-mill tree. You put that down, everybody knows there's a tree. But what if you want more of a Christmassy type tree, or a pine tree if you want to be specific? They're dead easy, I like using them a lot. So this is how you draw a pine tree. Basically what you want to do is start off with a triangle, give you your basic shape, and then put down a stump at the bottom. And that's the basics for the basic tree. And then what we want to do is put in some jagged lines along the edges to give us the guides of where our tree is, and then just curve that a bit more at the bottom. Now depending again on how close your tree is, you can just leave it at that point, or if you want you can actually put in a few more squiggles at the points where the jaggedness of the pine tree is, and at the bottom just jagged it out a bit more, and that helps give the impression of the leaves on the pine tree. And of course at the bottom here, we don't need to draw the roots of the pine tree because they go straight down. So what we want to do is we want to put in just some grass notes again, and there is your pine tree. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to get our marker and we're going to start inking out all the lines that we want to keep, and then we're going to rub out all the pencil lines so we're left with the pictures of our great trees. All right, so now we're going to start colouring. Now I'm going to start using my pencil. Now these are my Derwent Colouroft pencils. They're really good because I find they just ooze colour out. And that's what you want when you're trying to do a lot of colouring really quickly. So these are my Colouroft Derwents. I'm going to leave a link down below. What you're doing here, you're going in heavier each time you go on with the next colour. And you can go as crazy as you want. because leaves are organic, they're not solid objects, so you can mix them up as much as you like. And you can just bring it up a bit, put in a few little bits of dark in amongst it, so it looks like there's a bit of a gaps in between the leaves there. So what we're doing here, it's called burnishing, which is where we go really, really heavy on a paper. It helps flatten down the white, so you don't actually see the white as well. And it makes the colours a lot more vibrant. So don't be afraid to go over the stuff you've done previously with a different colour. So I'm going over the darker stuff now with my lighter pencil. See how we're sort of getting a third colour there by mixing the two together? That's one of the benefits of burnishing. Alrighty, so that's the green on our standard tree, which we used for our arm. Now let's do our Christmas tree, or the pine tree. So the top here is going to be obviously a lighter green. Now over here, this part here is going to cause a bit more shadow. So we're going to make sure the edges are a little bit darker as well. And the same thing on this one. See, I'm also blending up into the darkers as well. That helps create a third colour, because underneath here, the leaves above it are going to cause more shadow. Okay, now we're going to do our browns for our trunks. So mostly the shadow is going to be straight underneath where the leaves are. So now we're putting in our light brown. Don't be afraid to go over what you've already coloured into. It helps blend the colours in. And just going over again. New layer over the top. Going heavier as we go. And I'm just going to put in a little bit of green at the bottom for the grass. Both of them. So there you have some basic lovely trees. You've got a normal standard trees, which you've used our hand as the basics, and we have our pine tree. Okay, so that's basically one tree or two trees. What if you want to draw a forest though? Well, just draw that same tree over and over again. No, I'm just kidding. No, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do it. You do have to draw at least one tree, and then you build a few trees off it. So you don't need to draw the whole tree. You just want to give the illusion that there is lots of trees. What we want to do first is we want to start off with drawing our basic tree first. This is going to be our lead tree. And it's going to have very basic branches, and then we're going to have our clouds. Okay, so that's our first tree. That's tree number one. Now what we want to do is we want to build trees off that. So we're going to have another trunk here, but we don't need to draw the branches this time. We're just going to go straight to the cloud. And do the same on this side. And go straight to the clouds again. And we're going to do that just another time over here. This time you'll notice that the tree, before it actually covers a lot more. So we need to draw even less of the tree. So as the further back we go, the less of the tree we actually draw. Okay, so now what the trick is, there's a canopy for the tree, so we don't need to draw all the trees from now on. What we're going to do is we're going to draw a few more clouds back here on top to give the impression there's a lot more trees in the background there. And what we're going to do here is we're going to put in a few more lines to represent trees further back. Now we're not actually connecting them to another bunch of leaves, but because we have the canopy now, it looks like they're connected to that. So it depends on how wide you want your forest to be. I'm just going to make my forest this wide today. And just throw in a few extra trunks, gives the impression that that is a forest. So what we're going to do now, we're going to ink this with our marker, starting off with the main tree first. Alrighty, now with this one we're going to colour in a little bit different. The trees that we see are the ones that we're going to be colouring more heavily at, where the space in between them is going to be shaded in. So we'll start off with our trunks. So I'm going to make sure our trunks are nice and dark, particularly the front ones. And go a little bit lighter the further back you go. Now I'm going to start working on the canopy. So what the canopy is, it's darker at the base again. Make sure that the tree in front affects the tree behind. And put a bit of shadow amongst the top and the canopy. As you can actually start to blend that down a little bit, because the canopy is also coming underneath. Blending it across, going heavier each time I do a new layer. And go over the top just to filter in a few more details, give it a bit more of an organic look. And the colours blend into each other. And again, I'm bringing it down underneath. This helps shows that there's like a ground cover. And you can't actually see deeply into the forest. You want to hide what's in there. And there you have it, a forest. So what you want to do, you want to start off with your main tree and then build off to the side as far wide as you want your tree to be. Then you have a bit of a canopy and just indicate trees in between so that it gives the impression that there's small stuff happening further in. So remember, with trees, you don't need to put in too many details. They're usually in the background, and you can use your hand as a guide. So I hope that helped you and give you some good tips on how to draw yourself a tree and a forest. If you found it useful, like, subscribe, and ring that bell button so you can be notified as soon as the next exciting episode of Totally Amazing comes out for you to watch. Also, I have my own comic. It's called Antispy. There's a link down below. Check it out. It's very awesome as well. There's lots of cool trees in there too. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. So that way, you can see the forest for the trees. Sorry, that's what I do. I'm bad jokes. I do the dad jokes. You love the dad jokes, don't you? Leave a comment down below. Let us know. Now what you can that's going to go into the bloopers, by the way. Peanut stand talking away. So for today, we're going to need a pencil. Do that again. Sorry, that made me laugh.